Welcome back to the Brother to Brother Show. I'm your host, K Mo. Tonight we're talking. This is our last talk in the series of How Did I Get Here. So tonight I'm having a good brother that I've known for quite some time, and we'll see who that is when we come right back. Welcome back to the Brother to Brother Show. I'm your host, K Mo. I'm a life relationship coach and podcaster. So we're talking tonight a little bit about how did I get here during a hookup culture. And so I've had for the last couple of weeks on some good guys. We had a preacher on, an educator on, all good guys, men who talk a lot about their marriages and who they are right now and how they've got to where they are. And so I wanted to end this series of conversation of how did I get here with a good friend of mine, somebody I've been trying to speak to the last almost 3 years right now. And he is finally back, and he'll tell you a little bit about where he's been. But he is a husband, he is a father, and even more than that, he served us in so many different ways in our country. So today I have on Brother Jackson. How are you doing?
How y'all doing, man? Mr. Jackson, Odell, how you doing, K-Mo? It's been a long time, man.
It's been a long time, man. It's almost been 10 years, I would say so.
Yeah, man. Been abroad a little bit, serving my country, like you stated. Military veteran, Army veteran, 20 years. Just closed that out in 2020. Like you said, I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a mentor. I'm a coach.
Yeah.
I'm many things, wearing many hats. I'm an uncle. Just previously took on 4 more lives to take charge of and lead and mentor. So I'm doing a lot.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to is so important, I'm really excited about tonight, is because I have been trying to get hold to you for so long to have a conversation about things like this within our culture, within men, some of the things that we go through as men on a regular basis. And like you said, I've met your wife before. I think you all are a beautiful and wonderful couple, dynamic woman, fantastic. She exudes so much as femininity and as just a powerful woman, just meeting her for the first time, but also as a mother as well. So I could see the wife in her, but even more so than that, I could see the mother in her. And I wanted to talk to you tonight about what that looks like on your side, and coming from a man like yourself who served our country, who is a mentor, who is a father, and who also is a husband. And I want to talk a little bit about the marriage piece a little bit tonight. So thanks for agreeing to be on tonight. So let's jump right into it. So I know we've talked offline a little bit about some of the relationships and friends you've had. And, thank God you've been able to sustain this relationship and this marriage for so long, with going through so many different things, but also as a mentor and talking to other men and women who are going through some of the issues that we all have in relationships. What are some of the issues you've heard from your single friends now, or your unmarried friends, about dating and marriage?
For the most part, I hear a lot of it's hard, right? I don't know why people assume that relationships are going to be easy. I tell everybody, if you want to be in a relationship, like, the thing about it, you got to understand is that it's hard. It takes 2 people trying equally as hard, and that both times they might not be trying together. Like, I know me and my wife were talking about this a little while ago. We were saying that at a point in our marriage, she was like, you know what, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And at that point, I picked it up. I said, you know what, I'm not letting this end. I picked it up where she was falling short at, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and put her on my back, and I'm gonna carry us to where we need to be at that point in our lives, in our relationship. And it was some times when it was me. Like, I was exhausted with the military, moving around, doing a lot, had a lot on my plate. And I was like, baby, I really don't have any time or have any energy to give to you right now. And she was understanding. And she said, you know what, I got it. Even for when I retired out of the military, I've been carrying us for the last, 15, 20 years, carrying us. So now I'm about to get out of the military. Now I'm about to not have a job for the first time in my adult life. Right. So she looked at me and she was like, you know what? You've carried us all this time. It's been times I didn't work for months. Our previous duty station, she didn't work for a whole entire year, and we didn't miss a beat. She said, I respect that, I appreciate that, and this is my gift to you now that you're retiring. I'm going to carry us until you get a job. Don't put any pressure on yourself. Just take your time, take it easy, and I got you. And, man, that was amazing. Even when I met her, my son, our oldest son, he's not from her. So when I met her, I was going through a custody situation with my ex-wife, and she looked at me at 22 years old, K-Mo, 22 years old, was like, hey, get your son. And I was like, yeah, I go home on leave. I get him all the time. She was like, no, get your son. I said, I'm going to get him. I wasn't really understanding what she was saying.
Right.
She was like, Odell, go and get custody of your son. And I was like, whoa. I said, but I'm by myself. She looked at me in 2004. Look at, we're in 2022. She said, I'll be here. I'll be here with you. And she spoke it into existence. And I was like, wow. And that gave me the courage to go out and do what she told me to do. And went and got my son, got custody, raised him from 3 to now being 19. Now me and his mom are on good terms, and now we're doing like a joint parenting thing where it's like 4 of us, her husband and her, me and my wife. So it's beautiful, man, but it's hard. That's the biggest thing. It's hard.
Right. And that was 2004. That's before the social media. That's before this real big smartphones. That's when people actually talked on the phone. So we're trying to get back to hopefully get back to that. And so what does that look like? So there are 3 things that I would love for you to share with us that you look for in a marriage, right? That you look for in a marriage. What are some of those things that you look for? And I know you were young at the time. You said you had a previous relationship that necessarily didn't work out, but you found somebody. What did you look for? But before even meeting her, were you even thinking about this person being your wife? What did that look like?
Before being young, it was all about vanity, right? It's all about the appearance, right? And then once you kind of figure yourself out as a man and figure out what it is that you want and what you need, then you really understood what your companion needed to embody, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm meeting the same female over and over again in different bodies, but it's like they're saying the same thing. And I said, let me get me together first. And then I said, you know what? I want somebody that can come to me as a whole, because I want to come to her as a whole. Like she has something going on for herself. She has her own career, own goals, own dreams, and as well as me having mine. So when I met my wife, she had that. So that was somebody with some ambition. That was 1. You said 3. I needed somebody that was going to be loyal. That was 2. And I needed somebody that was going to like have my back. Like I wanted somebody that was going to push through the hard times. And I feel like at 22, my wife showed me that. Then my girlfriend showed me that within 4 months of us meeting. So when she showed me that so quickly, it kind of blew my mind. But she kept on showing me, oh, no, this is not a dream. This is real. I'm really like this. This is me all the time. And once she showed me those 3 things, Corey, K-Mo, I said, she's the one. And I went ahead and closed the deal. Well, I kind of messed it up a couple of times. I'm being honest. We're being honest.
Absolutely. You're young. Yeah, you're being young. Yeah.
I was messing it up. I did everything I could do possible to mess it up, honestly.
Right.
But with God's grace and her understanding and our patience and loyalty to one another, we kept it going. And here we are, 18 years later, 15 years married.
And, I guess I met you probably 8 years into it. And so, in fact, I don't know if I even told you this. Maybe we talked offline without her there. I always thought she was Odell's.
Everybody thinks that.
I always think that because of the loyalty and how she spoke and the energy that she gave when we met. And it was so much respect that she had for myself. It was so much respect that I saw that she gave you in those settings when we met for the first time. And so I always respected her and said I was just for us talking offline and just having conversation, just proud of just you having that, especially knowing your son and knowing you all were raising a great foundation. So that's awesome, man, to hear that story. So with that said, those 3 different things, what I was trying to pull from this conversation. So why do you believe that were your parents and stuff around or your family around during this time, during the hard times when y'all were just meeting?
The crazy part about it is that being a military family, when we have those hard times, most of the time there's nobody surrounding us that knows us intimately. Like it's people that's just now meeting us. So if we're in Charlottesville, Virginia, or we're in Germany was a good one. Maybe we're in New Jersey, we're in Augusta, Georgia. Like we're at different places in the world where we don't know anybody.
No, I mean before you doing that when you were 22, right? When you were struggling during that time, your
we were in
parents or
Germany.
your family, like, did they know or have any influence? You know,
Nah, I'm gonna say my mom was kind of telling me to slow down, right? Because
okay,
I had been married. Like I jumped in at 19. Okay, I was
right.
19 on this love string, on this puppy love thing, and I jumped in and I got married because that's only how I could bring my wife at the time to Germany was to marry her. It couldn't be a
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend girlfriend, so I had to marry her. So I
Mm-hmm.
married her. I did that, and my mom was like, "Hey, slow down. Like you went through that for a reason.
Yeah, yeah,
Slow
yeah.
down." So when she met my wife now, Priscilla, she was kind of like, "I like her. She's nice."
Right,
But slow down. And her parents were saying the same thing because she was
right.
in the same situation but not
Mm-hmm.
married.
Mm-hmm.
She followed her boyfriend overseas, and that's how
Yeah.
we met. She
Okay.
followed him over, and they
Okay.
broke up.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
after that transpired, right? Because most of the stories I've heard with this series, this conversation, it's something within the family. Because I know that sparks your interest when she says you go get your kid and be here. What was it in the family dynamic that gave it the okay?
Uh, Her mom was special, still is special. Like when I met her, she was so loving and so she just like pulled me in like from the beginning. And somebody always told me, if you meet a woman, meet her mom, right? And her mom is kind of representation of how she'll be as she gets older. I don't know how true this is, but somebody always told me, and I listened to it at this moment. It was like, hey, when you meet the mom, then you'll know. And when I met her mom was like, her mom was amazing. Her mom was just like so loving, and she was a nurturer, and she was all the things that I realized at that moment in my life, being a little bit older after my first relationship, that I wanted, that I needed. And I saw that in my girlfriend at the time as well. So she kind of closed the deal on her being who she is. And even to this day, she just left here last week. She's still the same way. So I feel like I made a good decision, man.
I think you did as well. I mean, but also in all honesty, I get it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I've heard those stories. I would probably have to give that same advice too, especially coming
Mm-hmm.
from a relationship or a failed relationship going into a new one. What does that look like? But whatever that was for you, hopefully we'll get into a little bit more. It really agreed with your soul and you finding your soulmate, right? So because I would say that would have been fantastic advice. However, I also know and have met your wife to understand whatever that feeling you got at that particular time, you had to go with it. You had to go with it.
Yeah, yeah. She was
Um,
so different, man.
say again.
She was just so different. Like she was
Yeah.
something I've never seen before in my life. At 22, I've never seen that. Came in, let me cook for you. And it was like,
Mm.
what? Cook for me? Like I wasn't meeting women at 22 that was really cooking home cooked meals.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you believe were the key things? Because you mentioned this already. What were some of the key things that your wife did to hold your attention while getting to know her? You said it's quick. So if the 4 months, what were those few things that stood out to
She
you?
would come. She would come in and like I said, she would cook, right? Because my diet at the time, 22. Look back on your diet in college, or look back at your diet as 20-some years old with its Popeyes, fast food, microwavable meals. I thought that was the world. I thought I was doing something. She came in cooking. She came in with her own money. She had a career just like I did. She was in the military as well, so but she was in the Air Force. She had her own career. We were in the same field. We were both in the IT field, so we're talking the same language. And she was just different, man. I never met a female like this in my life. She was buying me stuff. Let me buy you something. We would go out. I pay for it this time. I was like, what? It was kind of confusing. It threw me off a little bit. I was like, are you serious? Like, where's the cameras? She was like, no, I got it. I got it. Next time you get it. So it made me even want even more to impress her and to show her, like, you know what? Let me reciprocate, because she was coming in from the beginning, like just pulling her own weight, something I've
Mhm.
never seen at that age.
I mean, there are people who are 30 years old and 35-year-olds who don't do that. What do
Yeah.
you think? Let's twist a little bit, getting to know her a little bit more. What were some of the things in that? Why do you feel like she was that person? You said you met her mom, was something about the mom. Was it the upbringing within their family? Could you tell then what it was after meeting her
I
mom
didn't
and
know.
her family?
I didn't know, but then when I met her dad, I was like,
Hmm.
aha, because her
Okay.
stepdad raised her, and
Okay.
he was kind of sort of like giving her all the game, like
Okay.
Steve Harvey wrote the book. He giving her all the tools to put in her tool bag, how men really are. So a lot of the things she didn't have to ask questions that some females ask questions because they don't know. She already knew. Like she knew what it was, and she was kind of coming in already knowing. So I was like, oh, she's hip. So I can't pull one past. I can't
Right.
pull wool over her eyes.
Right.
So she was smart. She was damn near brilliant. Smart. Knew her job. Her family dynamic was amazing. Stepdad was a stand up guy. Still is a stand up guy. So she was checking all the boxes. And not to say anything negative towards my previous relationship, but it was just a difference. It was an immediate difference that I noticed from the beginning. But she didn't have a tight relationship with him at the time because she had been in the military. So that's the one thing that I did have. So we kind of fed off each other. I was closer to my family. She was kind of closer to her. Like, so we kind of helped each other in that way.
Because you hear these stories, but more so when you transition into your 30s. Like this doesn't normally happen when you're 22 years old. I have met people who are in the military because that lifestyle is more of you an adult then, who kind of talk like this, but usually it doesn't work out. It's usually it happens, and then when they hit the late 30s, 40s, you're going to that next phase of a relationship. So within this relationship, going back, if you can remember, how did you know she was the one? What were some of the things you can tell from the girlfriend aspect? You was transitioning from the 4 months and girlfriend, the cooking and stuff like that. I know you had to marry her like quickly, but what was it that said that she was the one?
It's like a little small stuff. This will sound a little corny, but like we went to McDonald's, right? And it's like McDonald's, right? We go to McDonald's and I'm like, what do you want? She's like, I want a fish fillet sandwich. I'm like, oh, that's funny. I get that too. I said, fry? She said, yeah, large fry. I said, yeah, I get that too. I said, what you want to drink? And I'm thinking in my mind, I always get a strawberry milkshake. I'm like, oh, okay, what do you want? She said, I want a strawberry milkshake. And every time I go, I get the same exact meal, right? I get the same exact meal.
Yeah.
And I said, but I always get apple pie. So at this moment, I'm like, there's no way she's going to say apple pie to him, right? No way, right? And when you talk to her, get a chance to talk to her, ask her this, right? So I'm like, anything else? She was like, yeah. An apple pie. I was like,
seal the deal.
Bruh, that's funny. It's funny, but that's a true story.
Yeah,
true story. Our next date, we went to a Chinese restaurant, had the same exact fortune.
About what, the food?
No, the fortune cookie.
Oh,
same exact fortune.
Wow.
So I'm like, something's going on here.
Right.
And to put a cherry on top of this, in the military you move around a lot, right? At this time, I'm coming towards my last year in Germany at the time, so I'm finding my new duty station, waiting on orders to come from my new duty station. So she's getting out. She decided to get out. Her dad lives in Atlanta, her biological dad. She said, I'm going to go out to Atlanta. I'm going to pursue some IT companies that I've been talking to, get my resume out there. I'm going to go out there and give it a try. I don't have my orders yet. I get my orders to email. Where do you think the orders to the email had me going? Atlanta. Atlanta. Anywhere in the world, you know how many military bases it is? It's only one at the time that was in Atlanta, and I didn't even want to go there. Had me go to Atlanta. I said, hey, you can come move with me. We've been together for a year, almost a year. Let's try it out. It's been going good so far. Come move with me. If it don't go good, you can go move out with your dad, and we can go our separate ways. So everything was pointing to she's the one. And I just listened to my whispers, man. You gotta listen to your whispers sometimes.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, and I think that it has to move in those orders. I'm sure you, again, through the marriage, there have been things you had to grow as a man. Like we all had to grow as a man. I think, when I was younger, they didn't tell us we were men or really didn't know who we really were until we were about 30. Now I think it's about 35. You and I are around the same age, but 10 years ago, it was probably 30. Now it's probably 35 because the world is changing so much. And so as you're looking at those different fortunes that are going into those different situations within life, what was the one thing that you saw in her outside of those great fortunes that said, you believe this is my wife? The transition, because a lot of people are dating and things of that nature, but what's the difference between dating and being a wife? What were some of those things that you saw from girlfriend transitioning and say, this is going to be my wife, outside of the great fortunes that I probably would have listened to as well, that you can't really get past, that said, yeah, this is my wife?
What I will say is at the time, my son was my world. Being in Germany and he was in DC, I didn't see him often. I saw him like once every 6 months. So I would try to get out to DC and see him. So she was just forthcoming and like, I want you to be a part of your son's life. I'm going to be a part of you guys' life together. We're going to do this family thing. Like she came in saying that, preaching that. So I had baggage. So, you go into a relationship with baggage. She didn't have any kids. She didn't have to be with me at that time. I already had drama in a sense in my life already. So she came into that knowing all I had going on. She came into that with a full head of steam, confident and ready to take on whatever I had at any moment. So and that right there was it for me. I said, you know what? I have baggage. I got a lot going on for me. Me and my baby mom's relationship wasn't as good as it could have been. And she came in, no hesitation, and she was accepting me and everything that I had going on. So in that moment, that's when I knew. I said, man, everything else was pointing to the direction, but I said, just stamped it.
Yeah.
Just stamped it. Yeah.
So we did have a question with that, going back to the fortune. What did the fortune say? Do you remember it after 18 years?
I don't remember it, but it was saying something like, it was saying something towards like whispers. Listen to your whispers. It was kind of saying something like, listen to your whispers, and because you're getting this message for a reason. And that's what made it so crazy to us. I was like, whispers? What is this talking about? And I said, let me see yours. Her said the same thing. I was like, wow, man, somebody's trying to tell us something.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the things that I wrote down, because I try to in these series write things down that primarily what women need to listen to from men, because essentially we don't give them enough information. They may not know. Everybody doesn't, especially 20 years ago, didn't have a stepfather or father around to give that wisdom to a lot of women, right? And so I know you said you talk to people who are unmarried, or what are some of the things and issues that they're saying that they're having problems with? And a lot of times we hear what we do wrong as men, but I heard you say earlier from your wife and some of the things that you saw that was so important. I missed a few, but the one I heard that stood out the most was loyalty, right? I heard you said loyalty. She was very loyal to you, regardless of all the other stuff you had going on. The loyalty. She did some of the intangible things that you couldn't even fathom, right? Intangible. The cooking without asking, the paying attention. Those are the things that I heard that you said earlier. Were there anything else that you believe that other people, especially women, could hear to say, you know what, this is some of the things that I need to pay attention to within men in general? Because these are the things that I would say any man can get, that would say, because I hear a lot of times women talk about it's a preference with different men. Yeah, but I think generally speaking, men want certain things. So what would you say to not necessarily somebody that is looking for a marriage, looking for somebody to date seriously? What would you say that they would be looking for in a man?
We talk about this a lot.
Man would be looking for in them. I'm sorry.
And, so what you're asking is like what? Like I'm talking to a woman, and I'm saying this is what guys are looking for. Like giving them a heads up.
When you had that conversation with her stepfather or her father raised her, what were some of the things that you took away from that conversation?
Okay. The thing about it is that I had to understand, and that what I took away was that men, we want to be needed, right? And I think he preached this to her as well, and I'm preaching it to my son, and I'm preaching it to my friends as well. We want to be needed, but at the same token, you can't be too needy. So it's a fine line, it's a thin line, and it's kind of hard to kind of explain. So have your own, but also we still want to be needed. We don't want you to be too independent, but don't be too dependent. Is it making any sense? Like, I know it sounds weird, but
weird. We live in a society now where we can't really fault a lot of women because they have to be independent, right? So it's taken over their psyche, and I think whatever they do as individuals. But what I hear from you, man to man, when you're talking about needed, is like, hey, allow me to be the man in that space, but also I need you to show up.
Yeah, have a space for me. I need a space for me that's only for me, while you're still being independent, while you're still being driven, career driven, whatever your ambitions are. I don't want you to put those on hold for me, but I want to have a space there for me that I can fit into that's only for me. so we can learn each other and we can watch each other grow. It's like, it's hard to tell somebody that because in doing that, you have to be vulnerable, right? Extremely vulnerable.
I want to add to that one story. This is a story, so I'm gonna give an example. I remember this is 10 years ago, approximately, and something as simple. And you use the McDonald's store. Something as simple as going to the grocery store, and you go to grab the bags, and she says, "I got it."
Yeah.
You gotta want me to be needed.
Yes, that's a great example.
You know, just give me the bags. Let's not have it, because it could be a conversation and a whole big thing about it, but just give me the bags so that I can be here for you. Allow me to be needed. So I always say, allow a man to be a man. Just like I had to learn how allow a woman to come into your space, just like you had to learn how to allow her to pay for a meal for you during that time when you're getting to know. At 22, it still felt good, because at the end of the day, we want to not just feel good sexually, but we also want to feel good in other ways as well. And I feel like society, I don't know, glorifies or makes that such a big thing for especially men of color and black men, that's the only thing that we look for to make us tick is just sex or intimacy.
Right.
So can you talk about that for me?
It's way bigger than that, man. Emotionally, a man wants to be needed as well. We want to feel like our companion needs us, wants us, and we want to be different than any other guy that they met, right? You want to have a special place for yourself. But it's hard to ask them to be that vulnerable, because every guy she meets is not going to be that guy. So you got to show her something to allow her to let her guard down. And you have to pay attention, because sometimes you're not going to be shown but once or twice. Because sometimes you meet a woman and she's at the point in her life where she's ready for a relationship. She has kids, or she's looking to have kids, and they give you a short period in that relationship or that phase where y'all dating, where she's going to determine you're the guy or not. Yeah. So I figure like you got to give her something and to allow her to be vulnerable. I think that's what me and you both were saying. Right. Because you want her to be vulnerable, but you got to give her permission. You got to show her, hey, I'm not that guy, or I'm not who you was dealing with before. I'm not him. Yeah. So
that's tough. Allow her to be everybody has to do that, right? Men have to do that and women have to do that. But at some point in time, we have to learn how to be vulnerable with each other.
Right.
And then my last question, because I know you got to go, is we put it up here earlier, but what would you tell the people in training, men in training who are trying to find a partner and working towards marriage, or working towards getting in a marriage, getting towards a serious relationship? What would you tell them that you're actually speaking to existence with some of the people that you are around all the time, right? So you mentioned some of the people that are still single, that are your age or maybe younger. What would be some of the things you tell the younger guys who are in a space, right? Because we know that a lot of them aren't in the space to be looking to marriage yet, but they want to date. What would you tell those people who are really serious about relationships and want to be in a marriage? What would you say to them? No, we can't hear you. Well, if you can't come back on, I definitely want to, touch on the fact that he did an amazing job of just really talking about relationships with men and how we can continue this series. And the next part of this is actually bringing his wife on to have conversation about their relationship and what advice they give to other marriages like theirs who are phenomenal. I know we'll have him on next time. So if you're watching, thank you so much for watching us this evening and talking about, again, the loyalty piece, the needing to be respected as a man, and also what it looks like to date seriously during a hookup culture. So we'll see you next time on the Brother to Brother Show. Thank you, listeners and viewers, for coming on to the show. You can find us at tomorrowsmen.com, on Facebook at Tomorrow's Men, and on Instagram at Tomorrow's Men. Please click and subscribe to the button below. I'm your host, K-Mo. Until we meet again, know we love you, work with us, be with us, and know we're coming from the heart. Peace.